Check.
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 All right.
What up, dog?
Mom must be home. Mute my phone.
Oh,
I think the tavern is a good idea.
yeah. The chat part is like I'm clicking the chat link and it's just like a blank page.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Fuck it. People should be able to watch, or maybe are we live yet on there?
We are live.
Oh, refresh it, diddly do.
Diddly dee it up.
Oh yeah.
Still no bueno.
Give me a second. Yeah, I just yeah, the chat pop up isn't
Okay.
doing its deal. So
Right.
whatever. But we're definitely live because I heard myself go refresh our doodle do. But yeah, so if anybody's watching, they probably can't talk to us, and I'm not gonna bother to talk back because fuck them, man. Fuck our listeners. They're the hello patrons.
Let's see here. So I've got that.
Red leather, yellow leather.
What?
Red leather, yellow leather. I'm just doing my vocal warm-ups.
Oh, okay, there you go. All right. So the prompt.
Me. La 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 la.
Open like a stovepipe. Tight like a drum.
So okay. All right. Got it. Okay.
That sounds like Pinocchio from. Damn it. The Ogre movie.
Pinocchio from the Ogre movie?
Yeah.
From Shrek.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw that shit.
No. The first one's classic.
Yeah. You know, Smash Mouth is from San Jose. I just want to let you know. There's a brilliant Saturday Night Live sketch with Jennifer Lopez as the mom and her daughter is afraid to go to bed. She just keeps going, Smash Mouth, and as soon as the lights shut off, Smash Mouth comes out of the closet and starts singing, "Hey now, you're an all-star." She's like so upset. And then, you know, J-Lo walks back in and Smash Mouth disappears. She's like, why do you keep talking trash about Smash Mouth? They're these chill bros from San Jose. Smash Mouth is the worst, everybody. The worst. They filmed one of their music videos in downtown Santa Cruz when I was working at Juice World, selling juices. And they were frantically trying to like recruit a bunch of locals to be in the background of the music video. And everyone's like, fuck no, dude. Come on, we don't give a shit.
Okay, check the chat now. Jeff Sal.
Yeah. Shit, man. Now they close everything. Got all relaxed. All right, here we go. New vidya. We like drinking.com/show, where you can find us each and every week.
That's sometime between 7:30 and 8 Pacific.
That's correct.
Depending on what prepped Jeff is or how late Jeff is.
Hey, the chat's working. What'd you do?
Fixed some stuff.
He plugged it in.
Yeah, I kicked it. I hit it on the side of the internet.
Yeah. You pulled the cartridge out and blew it.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
All right. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna. Hopefully, you're good to me, because I'm gonna go all. What? What's the? Damn it! What's the broadcaster's name? The Will Ferrell.
Ron Burgundy.
I'm gonna go Ron Burgundy on the intro.
I think I did okay.
All right. We're still recording. Yeah, 5 minutes and 40 seconds of nothing. I'm just gonna go ahead and delete that and restart it here. There we go. Look at that. Clean toilet. All right. All right, you guys all set?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this.
This is Steph Davis, co-host of the Wine25 podcast and founder of Albarello Products for Wine Lovers. You are about to experience We Like Drinking.
At the sound of the tone, the official We Like Drinking time will be 5 o'clock. Commence consumption.
Thank you for joining us for the award-winning We Like Drinking podcast, episode 179. In this episode, we'll be discussing bottle orientation, craft beer lawsuits, again, and saying goodbye to Anthony Bourdain. So crack open your beer, uncork that wine, and let's get drinking!
Let's get drinking!
Yep. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for episode 179 of the We Like Drinking podcast. The podcast that reminds people that drinking beer and wine is supposed to be fun. And that even through the laughs, maybe some tears, you can still learn about your favorite beverages. Now, John Ruyak, you did such a good job last week. You showed that we just don't even need the other guy. So before we kick off the show, what do we like to tell our listeners? What do we like to give a call to action to these fine folks to do?
So carve just a minute out of your day and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, what's otherwise known as iTunes. Just jot down a quick little 5-star review. Your fingers can work that fast. You can do it.
You can do it. Anything to add, Jeff Solomon?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't even think it's a matter of taking time. You're already listening to the show. So it's, I don't know about you. Sometimes I like to fidget. I walk around with a fidget spinner all day long. So, for me, it's just, something to do with your hands. Just give 5-star reviews to your favorite podcast.
I thought you attached that fidget spinner to your god-awful yellow running shoes.
Oh, come on. Those are sweet. That's how I stay upright.
This gyroscope effect of your fidget spinner keeps you upright.
Exactly. And actually, I run in Heelys.
Oh, dear Lord.
I wish they made Heelys my size. Because, couldn't you imagine me just walking down the street, just all of a sudden, floating?
With a fidget spinner. Two of them.
Two. Yeah.
If you did that, if you just tilted your fidget spinner this way or that way, you could go around corners and shit.
Yeah. I'd be solving a Rubik's Cube between my teeth at the same time.
There you go. Heelys. Look, get a hold of us, Heelys. We need to talk about some adult sizes for your shoes, apparently.
Yeah, man.
I mean, we are the idea show. We are the ideas that we don't do anything with.
Yeah.
That's what we do here.
I'd rather have those at Oktoberfest than those. What were those Adidas? Like Oktoberfest Adidas?
The ones you can throw up on and then rinse off.
Yeah. All I need is some waterproof Heelys, guys.
that can traverse, that won't hydroplane on vomit. That's kind of
Yeah, they've got like tread, but then they have like the little like plastic that you pull off the wheel, so it's like a fresh coat.
what is that, shelf paper tread on it? Douglas Trapasso, you're welcome.
He's not listening anymore.
So let's get to who we've got on the show tonight. We've got our usual panel member and just our panel members tonight. So you know what that usually means.
A whole lot of dildo recipes.
We've got our dildo blogger, Jeff Solomon.
Hello, the dillist.
We've got our beer brewer, John Ruyak.
Dilly.
And I am your host, Jeff Eccles. So welcome to the Dill of Dill shows. All right, let's tone this thing down for a second here. We release our shows on Friday, and I think was it last Friday or was it last Saturday the news broke?
Thursday. Was it Thursday? I thought it was Thursday into Friday morning.
Thursday into Friday. I woke up and looked at the news feed and was shocked to see of the passing of one Mr. Anthony Bourdain. So it's been a bit since it happened, but with the way our show releases, this is the first time we've had to talk about it. We've seen a lot of these tragedies recently and over the years since we started this show, but this one just seemed a little bit different. So we kind of wanted to take a minute, just a moment, to kind of reflect a little bit on Anthony Bourdain and maybe some thoughts on it that we had. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Jeff Solomon.
Oh my goodness. I think here we are like a drinking show. And I think it just goes to show that food and wine, really do go hand in hand. And I think it's weird. Like there aren't many celebrity deaths that just like, it's like a punch in the gut. But, I think any one of us on the show and any of our drinking buddies, we could all kind of say that we kind of idolize the way that Anthony Bourdain lived life and traveled and really got deep into cultures and really understanding that food and beverages are really like such an important part of culture, of the way that you really experience life and the way that you get to know other people. So it's definitely sad to see stuff like that. I will never forget the very first episode that I saw of, I had seen plenty of episodes of No Reservations, but the first time I saw Bourdain on CNN with Parts Unknown, he was going to Sicily, and I'm like, let me catch this. And the opening sequence is like these Sicilian fishermen like taking him out, like, we're gonna get the freshest fish possible, and we're just gonna cook it up right when we get back on shore. And so they give him like some scuba gear, and while he's underwater, he's watching frozen fish sinking down past him, and then these Sicilian dudes dive down and they just pull all these frozen fish out of the water, and he's like, come on, I know what you just did. And it was just all this amazing charade. Oh, I just love stuff like that. Like, just, and I feel like maybe every one of us has had like those Bourdain-like experiences where you're just like, you didn't expect it and you got hit in the face with culture through food and beverages. And it's, it's just, it was tough. It was really tough. And I do just want to say this real quick. There's this weird narrative surrounding suicide. where people are afraid to talk about it and they stigmatize it and they feel like that was something that, you know, they were kind of destined for. But like the reality is most suicides can be prevented. And so if you are feeling suicidal, you know, there's a million hotlines you could call. I would honestly just say Google like suicide prevention or suicide hotline and talk to somebody. Most of them can be prevented. And if you know of somebody that's exhibiting symptoms, like, you know, reach out and get help. There are climaxes that can get a whole lot better. And, you know, I think we're all kind of wishing he could stick around, you know.
Absolutely. And I'll just say it, the number is 1-800-273-8255 is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. John Ruyak.
Yeah, I mean, certain people just transcend their original niche, right? You know, Robin Williams, just, you know, stand-up comic, just transcended his niche. Even a grunge heavy metal artist like Chris Cornell was regarded outside of the music industry for just his niceness as a person and his dedication to other people. And Anthony Bourdain certainly just did that. So it leaves an empty hole in our lives a little bit that really, honestly, no one else will refill. Someone else will come along, but it just won't be the same. But I mean, we don't want to get all maudlin completely on this. So I kind of thought of what Anthony Bourdain might say on his show if he came to my house for dinner.
Oh, okay.
I was like, Jesus H. Christ, whose fucking idea was this disaster of a dish? It tastes like Zeus's leaky anal sphincter. And if anybody knows what that tastes like, it's me.
Oh, well done, John. Well done.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, to me, kind of the genius of Bourdain was his ability to tell you what an asshole you were, but yet you were so happy that he did it. And you know, he was brutally honest, but it never really seemed to come from a position of anger or hatred, unless you were like a craft beer guy, and then he got all kind of pissy with you. But you know, he was a fun character to watch, and he really showed you what travel could be and how you really got to know somewhere if you were going there, and that was to get off the path, right? So, but one other thing, you know, because this was a suicide, one that a lot of people didn't see coming, and as Jeff mentioned, you know, it's something that most people have had to deal with at some aspect of their life. And we have veterans. We all know veterans. And while this is a tragic death of Anthony Bourdain, I just want to remind people that the latest statistics that they've released, that a U.S. veteran takes their own life 22 times a day. And that is completely unacceptable. And it is something that we really need to address as a society. And this is a problem that is not going to go away. And if you have any need of help or anything, know that you are loved and reach out to someone, because there are people there for you. And we are a show about drinking. And let's be honest, that can compound things. And so I really didn't mean to go this dark, but this is a dark subject, and you are loved, and we love you, and get help if you feel you need it. And to Anthony Bourdain, to his family, to everybody that has had to suffer from a tragic loss. Cheers and salud, and we love you. Oh, I'm drinking some Jameson whiskey for the.
Ooh.
You could have picked something delicious.
Oh, really?
So is Jameson all you're drinking tonight, Jeff?
Oh no! So let's do this. You want to start? Yeah, we'll start with me. I've got this. Oh God, I don't even know why I bought this one, but I did. This is from the Butcher Knife Brewing Company, coming out of Steamboat Springs, Colorado. This is the Amputator.
No.
That's awesome.
So this is IPA 7.2. I don't even know what the IBU's on, but they're not very much. But a little bit darker swing on the IPA. Not bad, not great. It'll do tonight. John Ruyak, what are you drinking?
I've got some palate scrapers here. The first up is the 2018 edition of Optimum Triple IPA from Sierra Nevada, and I just tasted it, and the color is probably pretty similar to yours, Eccles. One thing about Sierra Nevada is it still retains some of the cachet that Samuel Adams doesn't have anymore. Even though they do a lot of this experimentation and put out a lot of different flavors, I think they do it for the right reasons rather than just trying to find the next big thing. So anyway, but I do have a little bit of a rant anyway. This won't take very long, but it's about the description on the back. And I'm not sure if somebody from Stone Brewing now works at Sierra Nevada, because here we go. And is this now the Beer Nerd Geek equivalent to bikini ads for just big beer all the time? So here we go. The back label says, every year we try to top ourselves by making the hoppiest, most intense, and most flavorful IPA we can muster. This year we chose the most flavorful hops and pushed them beyond their limits. You can't push something beyond its limits or it would break.
We're going to give 110%.
I mean, what are the hops jumping out of the pot if you boil them any harder? I mean, for what? Why? What? You know, hyperbole is okay, but come on, let's be reasonable about stuff here.
Somebody didn't pass their calculus exam.
No kidding.
They don't know limits.
This reimagined Optimum is our hoppiest beer yet, providing a blend of tropical and citrus hop aroma that delivers a refined yet aggressive character. Refined yet aggressive? I mean, come on. Is it refined or is it aggressive? It can't be both. You're pushing my patience beyond its limits.
John, that was very aggressive yet refined.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Oh, so one other thing I've got a lot to say tonight. But, you know, every week my phone overheats, especially if we try to do an after party, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, what am I going to do to address this? I can't have a fan because I'll make Solomon get sick. So we got like a freezer packet from somewhere. It came back home with us, like in a bag of fresh fish from a organic grocery store, one of those like camping freezer packets. So I put it inside a quart plastic bag and wrapped it in a paper towel. So now my phone is resting against a freezer bag so that my phone doesn't overheat and I can talk.
Why don't you drop your phone in a glass of ice water? I think it'll cool faster.
I thought about that, but I thought against it.
Well done, John Guyver. Solomon.
I'm just envisioning now, like John at the phone accessory stand getting like a life-proof case, and next week, like he's all like, it looks like he's in a lava lamp because that's exactly. Oh, dude, that'd be so awesome. I mean, you're a brewer. I know you've got like chilling coils. You can make something happen.
All right.
It's gonna be a bag of frozen peas.
Speaking of,
that's for vasectomies, not cooling phones.
Speaking of homebrew. Speaking of homebrew.
Oh.
I hold in my hands a Balmer with no label on it, which means it's a home brew, but it wasn't just from me, because I always put awesome labels on these things.
Right.
This is a collaboration between me and my buddies, their brothers, Nick and Doug. You might remember them from the Exploding Milk Stout from season 1 of this show. So we made a Russian Imperial Stout, or as I like to call it, pitch black barley wine. It has, I'm going to say, slightly less than half an atmosphere of carbon dioxide in there. But the flavor is on point. Like, this is chocolatey and roasty, and the fuggles are up in there. Like, it's aggressively hoppy, and this is a beautiful black wine known as a Russian Imperial Stout. We named this one. It's called Nikolai's Nuts. As in
Nikolai Tesla? Nikolai Tesla?
Well, because it's Russian, and it's as in Nikolai is crazy. Nikolai's Nuts. Double entendre. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Is it a, well, in the tradition of Chateau Courier and other things produced Solomon wise, is it a session Russian Imperial Stout?
It is an even 9%.
There you go.
Yeah, so as much alcohol as that Merlot I made one time. So
all right, excellent.
That was in a 750, not a 37 or whatever a bomber is.
whatever it is, I'm the brewer. Did you just finish your first beer?
No, I've got a third of it left.
All right,
I've got a little left.
All right, well, if John's wrapping up his first beer, we must be done with our first segment and ready to move into grape hop or pop culture reference. So you know what this is. I give these guys a term, and they try to tell me if it's a wine grape, a beer hop, or some kind of pop culture reference. The term this week is Sybilla. So is Sybilla a wine grape, a beer hop, or a pop culture reference? I believe we're starting with John Ruyak this week.
So is that Sybilla?
It is.
It seems like a cross between a mushroom and Godzilla. Psilocybin and Godzilla.
It's secret unreleased final version of the Godzilla.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Godzilla Shroomin?
That's where Mothra came from. It was really just a bad trip.
Oh man, Sybilla. Oh, Sybilla. I've seen it before, but gee whiz, I can't. I'm gonna think Sybilla is a beer hop.
Okay.
I've seen the term before. So if I've seen it, I'm thinking beer hop.
Okay. You sure it wasn't some kind of clinic? Jeff Solomon.
So I'm hearing Sybilla, and I'm thinking about, John all of a sudden is alluding to psilocybin, and all of a sudden I'm thinking about psychedelic properties, and then I'm thinking about, we are all, full disclosure, we're all in the process of reading through a book about like the history of drunkenness. And there's quite a bit of mention, especially in the past, of some people like referring to alcohol as almost being like hallucinogenic. And I'm thinking about the Greek symposiums, and I'm just wondering if Sybilla is some sort of Greek wine, like from back in the day, that was maybe like noted for its psychedelic and truth-telling properties. Sibylla.
All right, I like it. It was really a test to see if you guys have gotten to chapter 12 yet, really, is all it was right there.
I'm not in chapter 12, but I'm not going to Socrates' symposiums. He serves nothing but vegetarian food at his.
They sounded pretty boring. I'm
sure did.
I'm going to Egypt.
Well, yeah, well, never mind. You'll have to read the book.
All right. So Sibylla is, in fact, something that John has seen before because it is a beer hop. It is a dual-purpose Polish hop with traditional European earthy aromas that work well with pale ales, barley wines, Jeff Solomon, and stouts. Sibylla.
Woo, my winning streak's up to 1.
Those Polish hops actually go great with onions, peppers, and like a grainy mustard.
Oh, I really thought you were going to get a different ingredient there for sure.
Oh, you thought I was going to say smoked whale testicles.
I really did. Okay, so well done, guys. But now it's time for the ticker tape. It's time to get into Booze News, where we discuss interesting, noteworthy, or sometimes some kind of silly stuff. John, you want to take us out, or you want me to here?
You want to go silly first? That's fine. So, in a testament to a lack of humor, a brewery in Las Vegas has been sent a cease and desist order to stop naming their beer a certain thing. So these guys, before they started their brewery, they drove around the country in a beat-up old van, and they called it Jean-Claude Damn Van because it was always breaking down. So they did their brew tours, and they did a lot of tastings. They went to brew school. So they opened up this brewery in Las Vegas called Craft House, and once a year they produce a Belgian triple, I think, or a strong golden ale. There we go, which is basically a tripel, and they called it the Jean-Claude Belgian Golden Strong Ale. They've been brewing it since 2014. It's kind of got a cult following. People wait in line when they brew it and release it, and all of a sudden, somebody got a whiff of it over in Belgium, and Jean-Claude Van Damme's attorney sent them a cease and desist order. And they're currently agreeing to all the conditions, and they will continue to brew the beer under a different name, but currently it's called not that Jean-Claude. Not that Jean-Claude beer. So yeah, I mean, it's not his full name, and there's other people named Jean-Claude in the world. So why does he get to pick on a brewery and tell them to stop?
Because he has the fastest kick ever or something. I don't know.
I mean, come on. I mean, it'd be nice to go along for the ride. There was way back in the day, one of the first craft breweries that I ever went to was Brewer's Art in Baltimore, and they made the best rosemary garlic French fries on the planet. And they're still there, but they had this beer called Aussie Ale, and it was a Belgian style, like a double or something like that. The tap handle was a bat with the head knot on it. So this is after Ozzy bit the head off of a bat, and he sent the cease and desist order to them too.
I can see that one, but like the Jean-Claude,
it's free sense of humor.
Well, it's free publicity, really. I mean, you're gonna laugh at that, and there you go. You want to say, "Oh man, I want to go watch." What was that first movie he was in? The one good one that he was in.
The one good
one. Come on, that's bullshit. Every one of them was amazing. Have you ever seen Double Impact?
Oh yeah, I've seen them all.
No, what was the one where he was like they dipped their hands in glass?
Yeah.
What was that one called?
That's what I'm trying to remember. The fighter one.
It was called Kickboxer, I think.
No, it wasn't Kickboxer.
Kick Fighter. Kick Puncher. I think it was called Kick Punch.
I mean, the dude's past his prime. He should be thankful for the
Bloodsport.
extra publicity.
Bloodsport.
There you go.
And when they dip their hands in glass. But by the way,
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. That was Kickboxer.
Okay.
Last one.
Just so you know, if you dip your hands in glass and punch somebody, it will also cut you.
You.
Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, that's like being refined and aggressive, right?
Yeah, this brewery, like, obviously, like, you put out a name like that and you understand, and it's your hope. And from the interview, I think they kind of said, like, we're just stoked Jean-Claude Van Damme's heard of us. There's that part where it's like, you kind of hope the person finds out that you named a beer after them, and maybe they celebrate it, and maybe you get a cease and desist letter, and they went ahead and changed their name. And I think about you made mention a while back, like, Jeff, you've had like 3 Altamont beers in a row recently, and I swear to you, every single beer they release is a copyright infringement. Altamont Brewery is in Livermore. It's right at the foot of Altamont Pass, where the Rolling Stones played that free concert that turned into a whole hullabaloo. And their original IPA was called Give Me Shelter, which is a Rolling Stones song. And what do you know? They got a cease and desist letter. So then they changed it to Shot Away IPA. And
just a shot away.
Yeah. And Altamont has they have a t-shirt in the design of every single local sports team. And it's like, that's why not? I mean, you get a cease and desist letter. It's like, oh, okay, we'll change the name and we'll send out a press release. Like, I don't see why you wouldn't. And in the meantime, you've got like a really cool name. Like, for me, I don't know if I'm so like feeling bad for the brewery, and I don't know if I'm feeling like good for you, Jean-Claude, because I don't give a shit about Jean-Claude Van Damme. But I think the reality here is it's all part of the game, and I'm sure Jean-Claude was tickled pink that there was a beer named after him, but he also wouldn't mind getting some dough if that's the case too. I think it's interesting that their argument is, we named it after our van,
right?
Which was named after Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Right.
Like, come on, what are you gonna do? Big deal.
Yeah. Big deal.
Well, the Altamont thing is like, if you're constantly doing that, then are you just presenting yourself as a novelty brewer, right? Oh, I'm going to buy that just because of the novelty of it. Whereas, I don't know about the other beers in their portfolio at this craft house brewery, but if this was the only one where they went to that kind of borderline on stuff, then I'm more apt to side with the guys at the brewery than Jean-Claude Damn Van,
Yeah.
Yes. No.
You can find the craft house all over the Las Vegas Strip. That's what I learned from this thing. You can get them at finer establishments on the Las Vegas Strip for $18 a glass.
It's like $18, right? Where are people getting that price for a beer? That'd be great.
All right. So if they're in Vegas, what's the new name of what they should look for? Not
that Jean-Claude.
It's a seasonal, and it sells out quickly.
So get there and get it if you can.
What if Pliny the Elder sent a cease and desist letter to Russian River Brewing?
I thought, according to the book we're reading, Pliny the Elder was a bit of a teetotaler, wasn't he?
I think so. That's what it sounds like. All right, good stuff. All right, so we've got this other bit of news that we wanted to talk about, and it's funny how sometimes our news stories take like almost a decade to or more than a decade to come to fruition, but this is one of those cases. So, and I think we've talked about this kind of thing. We talked about corks before, and this is an article about corks. This is from the Drinks Business, titled "Storing Wine on its Side is Nonsense," says scientist. And the basics of this article is the article is based on a report from 2005, but talking about how, and I'm just going to say what the article's saying. So don't shoot the messenger is all I'm saying.
Oh, shit, I got everything all loaded up.
I'll load it. I mean, that's fine, because go ahead. That as the person in the article said, laying the wine on its side to keep the cork damp is bullshit and not needed. And they go through several things. The headspace in the wine, that humidity there is near 100%. And so if you keep the bottle straight up and down, that humidity will keep the cork wet, and therefore the cork will not fail. Additionally, the humidity outside makes no difference whatsoever, because again, you have that humidity inside the bottle near 100%. It doesn't matter how dry it is outside, the cork won't fail. What else did they talk about in here? And then actually keeping your cork on the side and keeping the cork wet can actually accelerate the failure of the cork because of why?
The cork deterioration from constant contact, or
accelerate the weakening of the cork's cell structure. So I found this article really interesting, basically saying that you should stand your bottles up. And that actually when they did that and they did tests, they still found wine in the cork, being that, through, evaporation, that the wine actually travels up the side of the wall of the bottle and into the cork and keeps it wet. Like you'll see if a wine glass, if you leave it sit there for a while, you'll start to see the legs forming without swirling. So I found this article really interesting, and I shared it, P.S., on the Tavern, the Facebook group, the Tavern, and holy free holies, did this light up. We had winemakers, home winemakers, professional winemakers, multiple professional winemakers, scientists, astrophysicists, I think. We're all jumping in to throw in their 2 cents on it. But before we run through any of that, if we even do, because if you're in the Tavern, you already know what happened. I wanted to get your guys' takes on it, because you guys are quite a bit smarter than I am. So we'll go with John Ruyak first.
Oh, man, put me on the spot all the time. So a couple things. Sharon and I are not archivists when it comes to wine. We typically have 4 or 5, maybe 6 bottles, maybe 12 at any one time that we pick up at a wine festival, or we go and visit a winery and like something and bring it home. But then we just drink them. And the only bottle that I really kept for an extended period of time was a Sauterne that I paid $30 for back in the early 90s. And then my wife broke it when we were moving from Maryland to Colorado, all over the dining room floor. I'm like, oh, and it was just starting to turn from that yellow to that caramel color where it was really going to be good. And I think I cried. So we're not archivists when it comes to wine. On the other hand, I was thinking the other, we were talking, maybe it was last week, and you were like sifted through some wine in the back of your refrigerator that you forgot was there. You had no idea where it was or what it was. And I was trying to think about, the size of people's wine refrigerators and things like that. Would it be easier to lose a wine if everything's standing up or if everything's laying down? Is it easier to lose track of them?
Mhm.
Like, did it get shoved back in a corner? Is it if you're laying them down and you're going 4 high and then stacking them in each other's creases and things like that up into the pyramid that you never can actually get to because refrigerators are only so big. But is it the one you put down in the corner to save, or is it the one you put it down in the corner to forget?
Right.
I don't know. My gut instinct to me says, and some of the vintners that I've spoken to, if they use the corks that are X-rayed, because cork failure has a lot to do with the chemical they're treated with, a preservative or something like that. And if there's like spaces inside the cork that retain that preservative chemical, for some reason, that's what actually corks the wine.
Mhm.
For us, I know, Eccles, you intend to keep some wines for decades. I'm never going to do that. So for me, I don't think it's an issue. I think if I keep a bottle for 5 years and I stand it up, I'm not concerned about it.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, Jeff Solomon.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways to look at it. For me, the thing that really jumped out initially was, how long we as wine consumers have been parroting the same things over and over and over, just because that's what everybody told me. So that's what I tell everybody else. And the reality is, I don't have many personal experiences where I felt like a wine standing up or laying down had any sort of issue, but I haven't dealt with enough to really accurately be able to compare the difference between them. I know there have been times where I've gotten a bottle of wine at the shop, I bring it back, and the cork is dry as hell. And I've kind of made the argument like, oh, this must have been sitting in the store, sitting upright for a while. But that's really just confirmation bias. That's just, oh, here's what I see, so this is what must have happened.
You had that happen on the show one time, actually.
What's that?
Yep.
Had that happen on the show one
Oh,
time.
oh, certainly. I'm
Cork
certain
disintegrated on you on the way out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm certain that that there have been many a times where I've been the one telling people like, look, this is why you need to lay this down. And I was saying something. We'll go back to the tavern. I said something in the tavern like, shame on us for not demanding evidence when people are telling us.
Oh, that elicited a response, didn't it? I mean,
it sure did, and I guess that's my thing, this is the first time I've ever, seen somebody reference a study that was done to really evaluate whether or not bottle orientation mattered in terms of the integrity of the cork. That being said, as I read more deeply, Dr. Cabral here, who's making all these statements, he wasn't the research scientist. He was referencing research that was done by other folks in 2005. And really it was, the title of the study was The Impact of Closure Type and Storage Conditions on the Composition, Color, and Flavor Properties of a Riesling and a Wooded Chardonnay during 5 years storage. So there are things to think about here, right? This is one study, one of many. There are several out there. One of many studies that was done on this. And we're looking at 5 years here in this one study. So that's one thing to consider. Another thing to consider is when they were talking about the integrity of the cork, like in this study, and I was trying to get access to the full study and not just the abstract, because I think one of the most important things you should be reading at the end of any research paper is the conclusions of the scientists that did it and how significant they think this data is. So from the bits and pieces I've been able to muster, what I'm seeing is a lot of their evaluations of the cork were they pulled it out and took a look. And we're just describing what they saw. Like, this one seems more wet, So that's part of it. It also seems like the big thing that they really got from this is that the biggest impact on aging a wine isn't orientation, but the type of closure that's being used. And so what I was seeing time and time again was, if it's a screw cap, whether it's standing up or on its side, it's going to let in the least amount of oxygen, right? If it's a natural cork, whether it's on its side or whether it's standing up, it's going to let in more, right? So really, I'm not seeing a whole lot of conclusive results here that are really giving you any sort of suggestions. And so I think we do need to kind of go to some anecdotal evidence here of how many folks were expressing concerns in the tavern of having a bottle upright and the cork shrinking and them falling into the bottle. That has never happened to me. I live in a relatively mild, humid enough environment. And I also don't hold on to wine for that long. So, I've never had an experience of that before, but a lot of people were saying, like, in a refrigerator, in an arid environment, these things happen all the time. So it doesn't matter if it's 100% humidity inside of the bottle. If it's super dry outside, that's going to have an impact. So that is something to consider. My big thing is this. I've got all these wine racks. I've got all these wine fridges. I'm not going to all of a sudden lay them all on their backs so I can now store my wine upright.
Right.
So I think space-wise, it seems to make more sense to just keep it the way that it is. You go into any chateau and what you're going to find is everything is on its side, everything that's being aged. And the other thing is, when you're holding on to bottles for like a really long time, there are some wineries, like I think about with the big Australian wine Grange from Penfolds. Yep. If you get that, like, Penfolds will replace your cork like once every 10 years or something like that, because they don't want you to have to worry about things like that. Like, you go in, you take they'll give you a little sip, and then they'll top it off with whatever the most recent Grange is and put a new cork in it. Because
so they do storage service for if you're buying a sought after vintage. They do storage service, and
it's kind of like adopt a pet day. Like, bring your Grange in on this day and we'll recork it for you.
Recork it. That's funny.
They really just go to a screw cap.
I will say some things just that aren't related specifically to wine, but to cork in general. Cork isn't only used for wine; it's used for short stoppers on cordials and on single malt scotches. So I had a cork failure on a bottle of, $100 bottle of single malt. It just broke off. When you're taking off, unsealing it and then taking it off, and the cork broke off. Now there's enough in there to keep it sealed, but still, cork failure happens in other things besides wine. Fortunately, in higher alcohol spirits, it's not going to affect the taste quite as much, but it does happen.
Wait, you're not concerned with cork lids?
Oh, no. We're not even going to go to cork lids. So, yeah, I think you guys all bring up really good points. Especially, even though they said laying it on the side in reality is worse for it, I am not going to go like create a wall of stood up wine because and Jeff, you bring up a great point. Like, because in my mind, I have taken the foil off a cork and seen space between the cork and the bottle. I have picked up wines where you can see the wine seeping out of the cork onto the glass. And you know, my assumption had always been this wine must have been stood up, because why else would it dry out so bad? But you know, one of the things that they mentioned is that temperature is a much bigger factor to the spoilage of wine. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like I have seen corks dry out, and I have seen the top of a cork dry, but the bottom of a cork wet, and that cork held the wine. So in my mind, and I'm going from my personal experiences with no research at all and completely made up shit that I'm thinking of as to why things happened, that I'm going to keep my corks laid on the side. And additionally, as Jeff referenced, my wine fridge, everything's laid on the side. And for storage purposes, that's
So
how I'm going to store the best.
what about sealing wax then?
I mean,
I know that's a pain in the ass. I hate beers that are sealed with sealing wax, but
if we got to be brutally honest, and I will say, we've mentioned the tavern a few times. I want to throw some shout outs because this was a really fun and lively conversation. But Tim, Dan, Steve,
That's Dr. Dan.
oh, I'm sorry,
Dr. Dan.
Dr. Dan, Solomon, Amber, Michelle, everybody that made comments in there, Jeff Solomon, thank you so much for joining in there. It was a lot. It was a really fun discussion in there. But I think Steven Seelock brought up the best point of it all. And he's like, the big takeaway from this is fuck corks. You know, I mean, and screw cap is where we should be going, and that's a whole nother discussion topic. But I agree.
Yeah. What did he say? If the French had discovered screw tops 200 years ago, we'd be romanticizing them.
Yes.
Romanticizing the snap, the
So I'll save that for the question of the show for later on. All right. So good discussion, guys. So anybody changing how they store? John Ruyak, how do you store your beers that you keep?
I store my beers standing up. I store my wines laying down.
Okay. Word.
What if
All
it's a beer with a cork in it? Like, would you put it sideways?
Okay, beers. I'll fill up my beer refrigerator, and you know, I empty it 2 weeks later. You know, I'll at any one point there might be 12 different kinds of beer in there, and then come back 2 weeks later, there's one.
How many?
You know?
How many shelves do you have in your beer refrigerator?
Just two.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, and we've got 9 bottles of wine right now, and they're all laying down.
I do want to say this.
Okay.
Wine in a can, always on its side.
No, man, you got to go upside down in the can. It's critical.
Wine in a can, 45-degree angle. But how can I do it? Get yourself some bricks of cheese. Figure it out.
So, remember about a month ago or so, we had our come to Jesus meeting where we talked about how we you know, when we had guests on, we're going to scrap the whole hour limit. You don't have guests on. Because thanks for great booze news, guys. But Jeff.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even see that till now. Bo, bodie, bo. John Ruyak's got a story, apparently.
So, yeah, no, real quick. Sharon's out of town. I walk through the door, feed the dog. She calls me. What are you doing? I said, I'm boiling some eggs. What are you boiling eggs for? I was like, going to put one on my salad and save 2 for some egg salad sandwiches tomorrow, so I can take one to work or something like that. So, and I finished boiling the eggs. And I go, oh, I'm gonna crack open this eggs and shell it while they're still warm, because that's the best way to do it. So I go to shell the egg over the trash can, and it boiled with the yolk right on the edge, and it broke right through and fell in the trash. You know, I mean, my yolk fell in. Who wants a hard-boiled egg if you can't have the yolk? It's just laying here in the trash. And I thought, you know what? There's coffee grounds and a napkin in there with a dead spider in it. I'm not fishing it out.
John Ruyak's got the worst story. I gotta say, man,
for your salad, and then the yolk falls in the trash. That's disappointing.
That sounds fortuitous. That sounds serendipitous. Because you want to know why? That's where hard-boiled eggs belong, motherfucker.
No!
In the trash.
No!
In the motherfucking trash, man.
Hard-boiled eggs.
Oh.
Good for
Oh. You know what I love about egg yolks? I love when they're just all powdery. I love when an egg white is as rubbery as the day is rubbery. Oh man, what a treat. And the smell. The smell of a hard-boiled egg just cannot be beat. Oh, and everybody's mom made the best deviled eggs. You know why they're called deviled eggs? Because the devil invented that. That's some bullshit. Deviled egg.
See, and you thought my story was going to be bad.
Yours was. Jeff's rebuttal was great.
Well,
hard-boiled eggs.
We wouldn't have a great.
Oh, it's a great,
terrible
it's great.
Story.
Like, honestly, I want to vomit hearing. Like, I'm so glad you didn't actually end up eating the hard-boiled egg. I would have thrown up on air.
Yeah,
it would have tasted like Zeus's leaky anal sphincter.
Exactly, and believe me, I know what that tastes like.
Take a drink of your stout and run around the room. That'll get it going, Jeff.
Yeah, man. Like Zeus ate some chips with Olestra.
Oh.
If the last 3 minutes just happened, one, nobody's listening, and two, it must be.
Last call.
Last call. Time to apparently peel some hard-boiled eggs. So you know what we did to get everybody out from the smell and the retching is what I'm talking about. So you know what we do here, folks? We invite you to give us your opinion of hard-boiled eggs, how you to store your wine, and anything else. If you want to tell us what you think of hard-boiled eggs, how to store your wine, or what else? Jean-Claude Van Damme. Oh crap! I said his name. We're screwed. You can tell us all about it on social media. You can get a hold of us on Facebook at We Like Drinking, which I'm never there, so don't bother. You can get us on Instagram at We Like Drinking. You can get us on the Twitters at We Like Drinking 1. That's the number 1. Or you can visit us at the Tavern on Facebook, and you can get a quick link there by visiting welikedrinking.com/tavern. Great discussions there. Hope to see you. John Ruyak.
Yeah.
Earlier, Jeff Solomon. If people have some thoughts on what you think about hard-boiled eggs, what's a good way that they can tell us all about it?
Oh, if you're getting fired up, if you're like, I can't believe you don't like hard-boiled eggs. I can't believe you don't like deviled eggs. Well, fuck you, dude. Let's meet up in an alley. Let's
No,
introduce
really, if you like
ourselves.
hard-boiled eggs or deviled eggs, just stop listening to the show, period.
Yeah, please. I wish John would leave the show at this point. But no,
I do have to say one thing. Too many people have been listening to Jeff and John when they tell them to stop listening to the show. So please don't listen to them when they say that. Carry on, Jeff Solomon.
okay. So, anyways, if you've got feelings, go ahead and scroll down whatever podcast app you're listening to us on right now. Scroll down to where you see you can leave us a beautiful, glowing 5-star review. If you write something like finally a podcast that had the balls to say that had the huevos to say that hard-boiled eggs are disgusting, that'd be the great. Hey, if that's your review, 5-star review, and you say finally a podcast had the huevos to say that hard-boiled eggs are disgusting, I will buy you a We Like Drinking t-shirt and I will send it out to you.
Your choice.
Yeah.
You can get either one of them.
Yeah. I'll send you both. I'll send you both.
You hear that right there, folks. Go to iTunes. I'm sorry. Go to Apple Podcasts. Leave a review that says, say it again, Jeff.
Finally, a podcast with the huevos to tell the truth in all capital letters about hard-boiled eggs.
I want to see the review this week. Even if
by the way, I know there's 20 of you like doing this right now. It's only the first person.
I'll take care of
Wait, there's more.
I'll take care of the second one that doesn't.
Okay, and by the way, for those of you that didn't get in on the free t-shirt, which by the way, we have to pay for our own t-shirts, but for those of you that didn't get in on that, you can buy your own t-shirt. I'm just going to throw that out there at
Shop?
shop
Question mark.
or merch. It's there. WeLikeDrinking.com/shop.
Get a coffee too.
Get a coffee mug. Fuck yeah.
All
Maybe
right.
I should offer to buy him a coffee mug. I think it's cheaper.
That is cheaper.
I'll
Do
get you a sticker.
I'll send you my
coupon. I'll send you a coupon for Angry Goats.
We're way past 42 minutes, so I think we've hit the double dip of tangent at this point. All right, and then somehow we're back to Jeff Solomon.
How?
Oh no, now we're on to John. That's right, John.
Yeah.
They've done that. They've gotten their free t-shirt by talking about how much they love, or do you want to offer up anything for that, John? If they say they love hard-boiled eggs, are you going to buy them a t-shirt? The first
Sure.
Okay, there you go. All right, John. So they've left the review. They followed us on the socials. They're in the tavern, and that's not enough. They're like, oh, dude,
You know what? Most of these people, a lot of people do when they're jogging, they're walking their dogs, but a lot of people listen to the show riding in their car. So what do you do when you're riding your car? You knock back a couple of Good and Plenties. You knock back half a bag of Skittles, but sometimes you drop one, right? It goes on the floor.
Yeah.
It's summertime.
Yeah.
You don't want it to melt and get stuck to your floor mat.
No.
But when you're down there picking off that Skittle so it doesn't melt into the floor mat, you find a quarter.
Okay.
If you find a quarter 4 weeks in a row, that's $1. That's all you have to do. Is if you like the show, the minimum is $1. We Like Drinking /pledge, and you can help continue this craziness.
Yes.
If you drop a hard-boiled egg while you're driving, leave it there because that's what you fucking deserve. You animal.
just sell your car. If you drop a hard-boiled egg in your car,
I finally got my Tesla.
drive straight to a dealership, just get out and just throw them the keys.
I'm out. I want out of this car.
I'm out. All right. Well, that was a lot that we just gave everybody. So we do a little bit to remind you,
just to hammer it home.
just to hammer it home with a bit we like to call. Wait, who subscribed? Where I take a quote from someone fictional or non-fictional these guys try to guess what it's from. I was a little worried about this one, that it wouldn't fit the show very well, but oh my God. This one's going to fit so well for this show because it's just been this kind of show. Here we go. Okay. And I apologize to our podcast listeners because the people that are watching this on the YouTubes, it's going to be a lot better for. All right, here we go. Excuse me. May I go to the bathroom first? Of course you may. Thank you. Okay. All right, so there it is. John, I've been reading with you a lot tonight. So Jeff Solomon.
I have no idea. Can you give me another line from the same movie?
I can. Hold on.
I know what this is.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, I'm just gonna skip. I'm just gonna say Jeff Solomon suck a hard-boiled egg.
Oh,
John Ruyak and say, John Ruyak, do you know what movie this is?
It's Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Jeff, don't suck on your egg yet. Okay, here's the next quote, okay? Oklahoma? Oklahoma. That do it for you?
No.
You know, it's probably, John Ruyak is trying to make this a Jim Carrey piece, but he probably just picked the wrong. No?
Not Jim Carrey.
This
This is a fantastic movie. If you guys haven't seen this movie, you need to watch it. My lovely wife and I just went and saw this in a live production, and it was fantastic. This is Steve Martin.
Okay.
Dirty, rotten scoundrel.
I do remember that. That came out when I was in 4th grade.
I assume, Jeff Solomon, that you don't only watch movies the year that it's released, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, let me tell you something. I would, but I don't own a VHS player.
All right. Moving on, for the good Lord. Let me just. Okay. You can also find the show notes to this episode with all the links to the stories or mentions we had at welikedrinking.com/podcast. All right. Well, this has been, I don't know, Jeff. I have no idea.
What was that?
I don't know.
Trying to seduce our ears?
I'm already in your ear balls. I may as well get all suave in there.
Oh my God.
If I'm getting suave, it must be the time where I get to say, okay, panel, for the love of God, let's take one last trip around this table and get some final thoughts before we shut off the lights. John Ruyak.
I would just advise you don't invoke the wrath of Mount Olympus or Chicken Run for that matter. Respect a hard-boiled egg.
I like eggs. I do. Hard-boiled eggs are ridiculous. They're nuts. Can everybody quit living the lie that they don't know that eggs are chicken menstruation? Just remember that the next time you cook a hard-boiled egg. Oh, so appetizing. Y'all are disgusting. You're heathens.
Do you put honey in your tea?
No, I don't drink tea.
Well, because that's bee vomit.
It's different. It'd be delicious too.
So, listeners, question of the show. There's so many to choose from. But
why do we do this week after week?
I will go with, How do you store your wine? On its side, upright, or upside down? And with that, I'll say thanks again for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast.
Where you'll never store your wine at 45 degrees.
You're fucking welcome.